So welcome to the Snowflake, Alteryx, and NewComp Analytics webinar on insurance analytics. So our agenda today is first to give you an overview of Snowflake and then bring it to life with a demo of how someone might use Alteryx and Snowflake to join their data with an external data set and then analyze it. My name is Ted Mercer. I'm an account exec with Snowflake. I've been here for 18 months and I help Canadian insurers see the light when it comes to breaking down data silos. With me today is Jordan Eckersley from NewComp Analytics. He is the lead data solution engineering for NewComp with particular expertise in Snowflake and Alteryx. Companies in every industry acknowledge that data is one of their most important assets, but companies are falling short of realizing the potential of data because of the proliferation of data silos. They're expensive and time-consuming to extract value from, and governance and collaboration are nearly impossible across multiple technologies and clouds. Snowflake's data cloud is one global unified system, connecting companies and data providers to the most relevant data for their business. Wherever data or users live, Snowflake delivers a single and seamless experience across multiple public clouds, eliminating all those previous silos. The data cloud enables three key things: access, governance, and action. Access means that organizations can discover and share data within their own organization ecosystem, as well as with third parties. Governance means knowing and protecting data in a way that can unlock value and collaboration while maintaining the highest level of security and compliance. And action means that they can empower every part of their business with data to build better products, make faster decisions, create new revenue streams, and realize the value of their greatest untapped asset, data. The leading organizations across every industry run in the data cloud, fueling the global network as they share and collaborate in new ways. Thousands of organizations are sharing data with their business ecosystem using the data cloud. This visualization is from Snowflake's product team, and it shows actual data cloud sharing activity as of July 31st this year. Each of the dots represents one of our customers, and each line is a data sharing connection between those customers. The big cluster on the right are companies accessing COVID-19 testing and vaccine data available for free from the Snowflake Data Marketplace. Many of those companies are using this data to manage regional impacts of COVID on their business and forecast business recovery. Moving towards the bottom center is S&P Global, with companies consuming their financial data. Around the edge are one-to-one data shares between various companies. And all this is done without requiring the creation of data pipeline thanks to the data cloud. Pacific Life, a well-known US insurer, was running into bottlenecks when trying to leverage years of historical customer data, and they had a complex process to integrate partner data. With Snowflake, they can now analyze and process years of data 1,800 times faster than previously, using a frictionless process to enrich customer data with Experian data sets from Snowflake's Data Marketplace. Data scientists curate those data sets with model results and easily share them with the broader organization. In the words of their Director of Data and Visualization, with the Snowflake Data Cloud, we've removed data science bottlenecks, so every analytics team across Pacific Life can maximize their potential. The data cloud is made up of two key components: the Snowflake platform and the content. For organizations to meet their business needs, the platform needs to be fast for any workload. It needs to just work. Businesses cannot rely on a platform that requires manual intervention to not just keep it running, but keep it running optimally. And finally, it needs to be connected to what matters. Platforms should catalyze access and collaboration across your business seamlessly and securely. Snowflake's platform has three unique layers that deliver on these critical requirements. The Elastic Performance Engine provides leading performance and concurrency for any workload. It scales to support any number of users, data, or jobs, and is accessible for a wide range of users and skills. The intelligent infrastructure is fully automated and managed for no maintenance. It handles complex replication for no downtime and provides continuous cost optimizations. And SnowGrid spans globally, connecting regions and clouds together to enable instant sharing without ETL, cross-cloud governance controls that follow the data, business continuity, and an ecosystem of third-party data and functions. And finally, sharing and collaboration only matter if you have the second element of the data cloud, that's content. The Snowflake Data Marketplace is where users can access over 700 data listings from over 175 data providers, like an app store for data. The Data Marketplace empowers data consumers to not only unlock new insights, but also enables data providers to market their data offerings to a global audience. Snowflake's customers fuel content within the data cloud as well, with thousands of customers providing content to suppliers, partners, business units, and even with each other in their industry to learn from each other, improve operations across the board, and evolve to meet changing demands faster. And it's not just data that makes up the content. Data services and functions can be tapped into, as well as new applications, all powered by Snowflake. And now I'm going to hand over to Jordan to show you how it all comes together in a demo.
So I'm Jordan Eckersley. I work for New Comp Analytics. A lot of what I do day to day is help people design kind of solutions around their problems, given kind of whatever their requirement is. I think Ted hit on a lot of really great points about, how things have to operate and that we can't be constantly manually intervening and having entire teams to support technology, right? In the way that we operate in this given time, it just doesn't work so well anymore. So given that, I want to paint you guys a bit of a picture and put you in a bit of a scenario. So the frame of mind to be thinking today is that we're working at a travel and tour company, and that we're offering travel insurance packages to our customers. Those new insurance packages obviously would probably include something like COVID coverage. The company requires us to kind of blend different data sources together, be they Excel or CSVs. I get all kinds of different data from all kinds of different sources. And we want to look at that and make some different predictions on that, we'll say, with some groupings. Who might we want to actually provide these packages to? So in my day-to-day, I wear all kinds of hats. I do all kinds of roles. So we're going to go through wearing a few different hats together, is how I like to think about it. The first hat that I'm going to put on is the hat of somebody who is assembling data. So maybe they're getting a whole bunch of CSVs and Excels, and they're doing the same type of work over and over again daily. A lot of overlap in their work, maybe, preparing the same files again and again and copying and pasting those types of values into something. So that's going to be my first role, and we're going to ship that up to something like Snowflake. The second hat we're going to wear is that of somebody who actually stores that data, how we'd go about storing that data in a system like Snowflake and why that matters. And then the third hat we're going to wear is the hat of somebody who's actually reporting on that data, right? How do I connect to the data now that it's not in CSVs, and why does that matter? And how do I go about actually working with it when it's in a system like that? So my goal is to take you guys through that journey in the next 19 minutes or so. And hopefully inspire you. There's a million things you could do with these types of platforms. So I'm sure this will get your brains turning and hopefully relating to maybe a process that you do today or a task that you do today that you see the value in that for. So first of all, we're looking at Alteryx here. This is the Alteryx window. What are we looking at? Kind of why does Alteryx matter? What is it? Alteryx is a platform that allows you to answer business questions very quickly and very effectively. So the platform can be used, if you want to think of it this way, as a major building block in digital transformation and automation innovation. Once processes are made, you don't have to rebuild that logic again. It allows teams to build in a more effective and repeatable, far less error-prone, less user intervention, and very much less risky type of way. The real benefit is, unlike many other tools, Alteryx is really easy for a non-IT background person to pick up and start using. It's very much process and logic based, as opposed to kind of deep diving into tools, if you will. In our experience, companies who are embracing Alteryx, they have a much higher rate of data turnout. They're noticing things in their data. They're working with their data. And analysts in those departments are able to get a lot more done than they were before using something like Excel. So again, just for context of how to think about it, I like to think that Alteryx is something like a power saw for people who've only ever used a handsaw before. So let's go about actually doing something in it. I have a couple Excel and CSV sheets here. The team always loves, you can see I don't have Excel installed on my computer anymore. I just have Alteryx. So I'm going to bring in a couple different sheets here. You can see Excel, it's asking me which sheet I would like to bring in. And it's also going to bring in this private sector for me. So taking a look at our data here, and I'm just going to run the workflow. We can see we have a couple different data sources, one with 570 and the other with about 1,400 records of plans and how those people are made up. We can see that they're extremely consistent with what they both are. The format of them is identical. But I do notice that graduate or not has a few different maybe people entering data, some people just entering it differently than others. And I also noticed that in our other sheet there as well. So let's go about joining all of this data together and actually putting it somewhere. So when I think of joining data together in Alteryx, immediately that leads me to a join palette. Now, what do I mean by a palette? These are really just groupings of tools. So anything in this in and out palette would deal with getting data in or out of Alteryx. Anything in the preparation palette would be preparing data, joining data, maybe parsing it out or transforming it to elude. So just groupings of tools. In our case, we want to combine two or more data streams that are very similar. So let's go ahead and drag that onto the canvas. We can connect our two data sources to it. We can move these so maybe it makes it a little nicer. There we go. And given that all our field headers are the same, we can auto configure it by name. But if you truly wanted to know what it's doing, you can absolutely see, you could change this to manually configure and you could absolutely see everything that's going on behind the scenes. So if I run this again, we can now see we have our records combined. They're just stacked on top of each other now, government sector, private sector, but we didn't have to go into an Excel sheet and copy and paste this data and make duplications of it. If I take a look at the metadata, I can see everything's stored as a string when things like income and age might be numbers. So we can easily change that in Alteryx. We can go to our preparation and drag a select tool, and you can see it even makes the connection for us. And we can go ahead and change a few of these to numbers. So let's change these couple here to a double. Employment type and graduate definitely weren't, but we can do annual income, family members, chronic disease, I believe was also. And I think travel insurance was a binary as well. So let's take a look. Perfect, nothing's about our data has changed, but we can see these have all been converted to doubles now. So they're actually numbers. The other thing I said I wanted to do is maybe take a look at our data profile. So I can again add a browse tool here. And this allows me at a glance to take a look at what makes up our columns here. So I can see right away here, this Y for yes is taking up about 800 values. I definitely want to fix this. And I can actually see too that 46 times somebody manually misspelled government. It's supposed to be spelled correctly, so we can fix that as well. We can fix all these problems inside of Alteryx. We're just going to drag in a formula tool here and write a simple if statement. So if you're not familiar with if-else logic, you'll definitely learn something today. You can use this almost anywhere. And we're going to say if the graduate or not is equal to the letter Y, so what we're seeing here, then we're going to replace that with the word yes. Else, we're just going to use graduate or not. And we can end that if statement. And you can see, there we are before the transformation. And there we are after. We have our yeses as well as our nos. Fantastic. So let's also go about fixing government using the exact same logic here. I'm going to use another if statement. And I'm going to set this to employment type and say if employment type is equal to government, then we're going to change it to government. Else just use the field you have. And you can see we're not really coding. This is pretty standard logic. It's filling in everything for me. And there I go. Everything's been fixed. If I take a look at my browse tool now, I don't see those errors. So if anybody ever gave me another sheet here in the exact same format, I could just simply connect it in to my workflow, and I don't have to do this again. This work is done. Maybe now I wanted to actually store that data in Snowflake. I absolutely could. I have a Snowflake environment set up, and we're going to walk through it together right after we kind of push it up there. But I'm simply going to go to my data sources and use an ODBC connector into Snowflake. I already have it set up. And I'll log into Snowflake here using just my username and password. And I'm going to put that in the insurance table. And we'll overwrite the table if it's already there. If I run that now, we can see the data is going to load into Snowflake. So with that, I've kind of finished my job of cleaning our data. My first hat is done, and I'm going to switch over to my second hat, which is somebody who is in Snowflake. So let's bring up Snowflake here, and I'm going to log in, same login as before. So what is Snowflake? You guys got a bit of a rundown from Ted there. But when I think of Snowflake, I think of I think the only cloud-ready enterprise data warehouse that brings a lot of simplicity without sacrificing any features. Snowflake, and I will show you how, can automatically scale both upwards and outwards, as well as downwards and inwards. It's really about balancing the performance and cost. The part of it that I love is that it truly does separate storage from compute. So storing something does not cost money in compute, and computing data doesn't necessarily cost money in storing data. You could have a Snowflake instance with people sharing data that you don't store, and you could just be paying for the compute on it. So with Snowflake, you can store all your data in a single place and size compute independently based on what you want to do. So the way I like to think about it is maybe you had a real-time data load that you needed for a really, really complex transformation. We would have to go out and buy a crazy database with all kinds of horsepower for this one load, and then it would probably never be used again. With Snowflake, we could script that, run it against a massive data warehouse, and when that load is done, scale that data warehouse back down to zero And if it's not being queried, we're not paying for it. So it's truly that level of flexibility. As well in Snowflake, you have the ability to share data, both you can think of it internally and externally, using something like the marketplace. So like we were saying, maybe I wanted to enrich this data when I was completed to do a statistical analysis with COVID-19 data. I absolutely could. It's free in the Snowflake marketplace. I could simply go in here and query for it. I think it's under COVID. You know, if I wanted this data analysis, I could simply go in here and request it. And here it is, free. I could absolutely get this data. And they're even giving me examples of how to use it. So this is super powerful. If you've ever done databasing before, I think you would probably truly see the value here, but this is just a very easy way of having all of your data in one place without having to manage it at a micro level. So inside of Snowflake, truly it's like any data warehouse. We would have databases. You know, inside of a database, we could have things like tables. So here's the data that we just loaded. It would have schemas, stages, file formats, everything that you're used to seeing if you're working on this type of data. Also, and what I find probably one of the most fun things is the warehouse section. So again, if you come from a Snowflake background, let's go ahead and create a data warehouse together, and I'll show you how quick it can truly be. So I'm going to click this create button. We would have to give it a name, you know, my warehouse. We could pick a size, and this is what we were talking about earlier about sizing it accordingly. Probably a small is appropriate. Credits you can just think of as kind of nodes, right? So if you maybe had an extra small, it would be one node, a small would be two nodes. It's not necessarily the same correlation, but it's a linear calculation like that. So again, if you had a massive data load, you could stand up a data farm, basically do that data load and then turn it all the way back down to a small. There's nothing against that. You also can specify how many clusters. So say we were going to do a massive data load on this warehouse, we could set this to 10. And what this would allow Snowflake to do is clone this data warehouse outwards up to 10 times. So it's going to make a clone of this warehouse and allow threads or workers, if you want to think of it that way. You can set your scaling policy, so how aggressively that happens, as well as one of the best features, auto suspend. So you could say set this to 5 minutes. And if nobody queries your Snowflake data warehouse in 5 minutes, then this data would not, this warehouse would not stand back up. It would go silent, and you know, my boss's credit card stops getting charged. So he's very happy. When I click finish here, this is actually going to stand up a brand new data warehouse in our instance. So normally this would be a massive project, tons of teams involved, all kinds of work. And there we go. We have stood up a new data warehouse. So Snowflake is truly that easy. It is a really beautiful thing, and it has made my life much easier when it comes to storage. No longer am I doing backups or anything like that. All of that is taken care of for me. I know it sounds too good to be true, but Ted can promise you it's not. So that's a little tour kind of around the Snowflake interface, if you will. Again, we can see our data inside of Snowflake here. And if I wanted to, I could query this in a worksheet, just like any other SQL environment. I could absolutely, you know, select star from whatever table and run that. So in my last 4 minutes here, I'm going to quickly switch hats again and show you how I might do a really, really simple kind of query out of Snowflake. So let's connect back to our data now inside of Alteryx. So I'm going to start a new workflow here and actually connect to my Snowflake data. So I'm going to bring in an input data and connect to Snowflake again. I'll log in here. And what you'll actually see is our data warehouse. It's going to have a whole bunch of data. In our case, we're looking for insurance data. And I can drag this table in and just select star. What that's going to do is select everything out of our table. As I was saying though, querying it is going to spin up our warehouse. I can cache this data inside of Alteryx. So when I run it once here, it's going to actually hold that data for me in memory. Never again will I have to query our data warehouse. So there we go. Data's been taken care of. It's all stored within memory. It's, time checked. It's everything like that. If somebody were to edit something, we would absolutely know. It's governed. It is all of those things now, right? We have it in a usable format. It's no longer CSV sheets on our desktop. So maybe let's do something really quickly here and see if they have travel insurance or if they don't have travel insurance and they have traveled abroad. So we're looking for people with a yes in ever traveled abroad and a 0 in travel insurance. So let's write a quick filter. Think of that. And I could simply say, travel insurance equals 1 here. But I can also actually write a custom filter in here as well. And I could say ever travel abroad is equal to yes. Need an equal sign there. And that's going to actually filter our data to these people have traveled abroad. Oh, sorry, these people do. We want this to be a 0. So again, pretty easy to develop, fail fast, and pivot, if you will. So here are all kinds of people who have traveled abroad with no travel insurance. Maybe we only want to look at people with an annual income of over, let's say, 1 million. And there we go. Maybe we wanted to summarize that and pass it on to another team. Maybe we just needed their, maybe by age and their average annual income. So what I could do is I could drag in a summarize. I could group by my age and take an average of their annual income. So we can see 25-year-olds making 1.35 million. I need to get into that, that demographic there. So just different ways that you could play with data here. I know I kind of took the time here, so with 1 minute just to summarize what we did, thinking back on everything. We took a couple different sheets, we joined those together, we changed different fields and made some calculations on that. We then stored that data inside of Snowflake in a brand new table that we created on the fly, and then re-downloaded that data back into Alteryx, created a filter, and did a summarization on that data to find out the average annual income of our insurance people. So not much time left there, but I hope that gives you guys some ideas there of how you could use these technologies to play together and interact with each other. So I'll pass it back over to you there, Ted.
Excellent. Thanks, Jordan. So thank you, everyone, for joining today. And I hope you learn something about how Snowflake and Alteryx can enable joining of data externally, internally, and make it a lot easier. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Jordan or me. And we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much.